The sprawling greenswards of Southern California's Santa Barbara Polo and Racquet Club shimmered like a mirage under the late afternoon's golden haze. As the mallet-swinging titans of the sport's elite circles wheeled and thundered over the immaculately tended pitch, the social atmosphere amongst the ivy-draped box seats and VIP pavilions hummed with champagne flutes and haute couture. For the pomp and pageantry surrounding one of the most prestigious polo tournaments in the Americas was far more than just a sporting event. It was the very crème de la crème of California high society's yearly debutante gala. The air hung thick with European perfumes, self-entitlement, and the ambient arrogance radiating from more pedigree and inherited wealth than the combined GDP of several developing nations. Which was precisely why Meghan Markle had maneuvered herself so diligently and shamelessly to be granted one of the plush, pitch-side boxes from which she could preen and hobnob with the upper echelon she pathologically craved validation from. This entire week would reaffirm her divinely ordained birthright as American royalty, finally assuming her place among the most elite of the elite after far too long of enduring society's snub. Of course, that required aggressively positioning herself in the most blatantly conspicuous fashion amongst her newly anointed peer set. Meghan had therefore taken full thespian advantage of her freshly relaunched high-profile collaboration with the renowned Argentine polo player Nacho Figueras' fashion label. Their high-profile, twinning, splashed across every mainstream media tabloid cemented Nacho's role as the suavely exotic aristocrat ushering her back into the limelight's most flattering glow. Honestly, I simply can't even get over how ruggedly devastatingly the man's chiseled countenance radiates pure unbridled masculinity, Meghan simpered from behind her perspex-shielded perch. She cocked her signature coquettish wrist in an exaggerated hair-toss gesture that caused her mane of tousled chestnut tresses to cascade dramatically. Her gown, a skin-tight crimson slip dress that plunged into a dizzying canyon of cleavage, glistened with the impeccable sheen of runway-grade couture despite the blazing heat. Of course, Meghan's personal stylist team had engineered every angle of her appearance toward projecting the visual of red-blooded American bombshell oozing with the tantalizing promise of raw, sensual allure. The calculated effect was nothing if not viscerally arresting. Around her in their shared VIP carrel, the gaggle of social media influencer ingenues and fawning hangers-on Meghan kept in tow nodded in scandalized delight. Their rapt admiration and eagerness to be dazzled by her slightest verbalized impulse was utterly intoxicating to bask in. There's just something so elementally powerful in a man unashamed to embrace the full potency of his most vigorous assets, you know, she added with a breathy sigh. It's like the raw, throbbing essence of humanity itself on display. Watching Nacho's muscles ripple and flex as he brings that supreme physicality completely under his full control, well, it's almost too alluring and evocative to even process. Her coterie practically swooned in unison as their feverish imaginations galloped to conjure the tantalizing imagery. Well, there's no question that Nacho is undoubtedly the living embodiment of the modern gentleman athlete's ultimate ideal physique, came a thinly veiled undercurrent of derision and condescension emanating from the neighboring loge box. The conspicuously lace-edged fan unfurling before the new speaker revealed a chiseled patrician visage of effortless aristocratic beauty gazing over with a mixture of bemusement and unveiled disdain. Delphina Blackear, the wife of that very same Nacho whom Meghan had practically mounted in effigy, possessed a composure and quiet intimidation even the most entitled of socialites could only mutely envy. In fact, my devoted husband has spent well over 40 years and countless hours grueling to hone his peak masculine condition to a level worthy of his bloodline's most profound pedigree, she continued in that languid, Castellano-tinged alto that immediately commanded the undivided attention of all those around her. It's an obsessive discipline of self-mastery few have the mettle or purity of spirit to commit themselves to with such devotion. As his vita and terra, his entire being, I can scarcely contemplate the magnitude of his rapturous energies when, fully roused, shall we say? A conspiratorial sidelong glance over her serrated cheekbones was all it took to completely deflate Meghan's manufactured bravado. She withered beneath the sheer derisive gravity of Delphina's imperious gaze. But of course, the Duchess burbled gamely, attempting to parry or deflect only to abort in a thick swallow. I simply wish to celebrate the exemplary rousedness of your husband's physique. Delphi arched a single-angled brow as her eyes bored into Meghan's with a dominatrix's contempt. The way one might brutally strip away any pretense of deference or legitimacy afforded a particularly graceless hustler. "Oh, I've read all about your chosen methods of celebration regarding my Nacho's illustrious profile, Ms. Markle," she intoned with a thinly veiled bite of rebuke. "Though I fail to see how baselessly merchandising his image and good name to peddle your little jars of chutney kitsch equates to properly extolling his boundless virtues, no?" The words hit like a whip sting, causing the lesser woman to wither further under the sheer imperiousness of the insult. Around them, the gasps and excited murmurs from other spectators signaled their captivation in the gathering spectacle between the two socially polarized lionesses. "I mean no disrespect or impropriety whatsoever, Madame Figueras," Megan rallied with a feigned smile. "My collaboration with your esteemed spouse is simply intended to elevate both his brand's esteem and my own humanitarian lifestyle one dash." "It's the Blackier," the withering dowager cut her off. "Madame Delfina Nacho Figueras Blackier, if we're adhering to the formal proprieties your posturing would suggest, we owe its reverence." The rebuttal ignited a fresh spatter of cruel onlookers' titters before Delfina pressed on, clearly warming to the utter dismantling of the wanton social climber's shameless airs. "And while I'd never deny the self-evident virtues of your carefully curated Oglebait pantomime, I can assure you the prestige carrying my Figueras name and lineage demands a pursuit of more profound purpose and legitimacy." Her flinty olive stare remained locked on Megan as she feigned a thoughtful pause and shift in demeanor. "But let's be fair, Ms. Markle, you were born a daughter of Hollywood's most aggressively tawdry and depraved culture, constantly craving the spotlight's blinding approval over any pretense of sincerity or substance. So perhaps it's not entirely your fault you lack the capacity to properly respect our dignities." A cruel smirk crept over Delfina's sumptuous crimson lips as her target found herself utterly disarmed and pinioned beneath the public lashing. "Shall I take a moment to educate you on the ancient Argentinian standards of honrada and virtuoso before further assessing your conduct's propriety? Or might that be too arduous an etiquette to absorb in your limited circumstances?" All around them, the mesmerized swirl of scorn and schadenfreude swept through the assembled elites like an undulating wave. Their gasps and reproving sneers collectively singling out Megan as the sad punchline she'd so